Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
Maybe one of the most unique players on this 49ers roster countdown, undrafted free agent tight end Mason Pline, a converted basketball player. Like, I know a lot of these guys play basketball and they're in high school, and some of them even consider messing around with basketball at the college level. No. Mason Pline played multiple years college basketball before he even played football. That's what he is. He's converted. He's raw. He's small school. All those things. But the one thing that Mason Pline has that a lot of other people on this roster don't have, crazy upside. Now, you're going off of the way he's built, 6'6", 254. He's huge. He's 24 years old, ran a 4.8 40, 33-inch vertical, 9'10". I mean, this dude is a behemoth size, athleticism. That's just what he brings. He hasn't really played. There's no film on him. It's pretty hard to go back, and you look at just his journey. Ferris State, he had 2 catches. After converting from basketball to football, he had 2 catches in 2 years. Like, how do you grade that? You really, really can't. Then transfers to Furman, had 1 solid year, decent year of production, but still wasn't really even the starter, was kind of, the jump ball specialist. But we've seen this before in the NFL. Now, it's not fair to compare him to other basketball converts, Antonio Gates or Tony Gonzalez. He's not that. Maybe he could be. Hope he could be. But he comes in number 67 on the 49ers roster countdown for 2024. His highest ranked out of all 4 of our 1 through 91 submissions was 60. His lowest, 77. Got to give credit to Josh, Dave, Oscar. You guys are the absolute best, and Zach for helping put together this whole series. But he's just an interesting guy. Went to Fowler High School, eventually graduated with a mechanical engineering and participated in the Master of Arts in Strategic Design program. So intelligence is there. Born and raised in Fowler, Michigan. And, in high school, yeah, he was a stud. Football, basketball, baseball, all those things. But he walked away from football for multiple years. Was part of 2 national, D2 national championship teams at Ferris State. Big-time basketball player. He averaged over 8 points a game, over 5 rebounds a game, and just couldn't take those next steps, and it just became evident. The NBA is not going to be in this dude's future. During that time, that's whenever he shifted and went back to football after 3 years. This dude has a college career, 5 years at Ferris State and then 1 year at Furman. This is the new draft, whatever. With COVID, the redshirt year, guys get 6 years now. The last Furman Paladin to join the 49ers was John Keith, a 4th-round pick, draft selection all the way back in 2000. Shout out to Josh for finding that nugget. Not a lot of Furman Paladins, which awesome mascot. I love it. But you know what? You watch anything of them, there's not much. There is not much tape out there. All 22, non-existent. Doesn't exist with them. Can't find it. Now, there's some highlights and whatever you can find on YouTube and some small cut-ups, whatever else. But he's a Ross Dwelly type. Definitely more of a receiving tight end than he is a blocking tight end. Charlie Warner, right? Not that. More of a Ross Dwelly. You're getting the body. You're getting the athleticism. You're getting the production value. But he's so raw. Run blocking is almost non-existent. And that's the antithesis of what the 49ers are. However, whenever you're taking an undrafted free agent like Mason Pline, the timetable's removed. The idea that, Mason Pline has to make this 53-man roster or what? No. This dude needs seasoning, and a lot of it. Probably going to have to be with the 49ers on the practice squad for a year plus before he even gets that opportunity. You got to remember, the 49ers will redshirt a second-round pick like Aaron Banks. They'll redshirt all their third-round guys. They'll redshirt anybody. Well, now you go to an undrafted free agent. It's the same construct. The only difference is this dude hasn't played much football. Really, really hasn't. But again, big size. He's not very fast. Jimmy Graham, that's what you're looking for with him. And you go back to Furman, he had, in the FCS, they have a playoff structure, a true playoff structure. In the semifinals, Furman beat Montana in the last seconds of the game. It was a 4th and 10 from like the 25, 20-ish, and they just threw a jump ball. And Mason Pline went up and just Jimmy Graham style, blocked out, grabbed the rebound, 2 hands, scored a touchdown, knocked Montana, who's a powerhouse of the FCS, out of the playoffs. Like, it doesn't take much to see, like, oh, this is where Mason Pline will be successful. Your red zone threat, your first down machine, like if you can figure out the other parts of the game, the blocking, the physicality, all that stuff, he's already got his blue chip trait, which is 6'6", 255, and can jump out of the gym. That's what he already has that. That's non-coachable. If the other stuff can catch up to his blue chip trait, now we're talking. Now, you look at his PFF grades. Again, remember, this Furman, very low competition level. 53.5 overall grade, not good. 55.4 receiving grade, not good. Pass protection, 70.5, pretty good. And his lowest grade, 51 run blocking. And so, like, you want him to chip, you want him to do some of that stuff and just put him out there on receiving downs. All right, that makes sense. Run blocking, that's an issue. Routes, that's an issue. Posting up and pass protection, all right, cool. You've got a couple things you can hang your hat on with Mason Pline. Now, Dane Brugler of The Athletic had him as the number 18th tight end in this draft with the priority free agent grade, which he was. And, again, a couple notes just from Dane Brugler. Raw. This dude's raw. Blocking is rough to say the least. Needs a year on the practice squad before you can even evaluate him as an NFL tight end. And I get it. We fall in love with these guys because they're so fun. Like, this is a fun prospect because you see it and you're like, ooh, man, you just put him in a goal line and short yardage, just pop the ball up in the air, let him go get it. That makes sense. So we see that pathway, but you got to see the rest of the game. And I think that's where he's got a lot to go on. Now, if you look at just the contract, he only got $40,000 guaranteed, which is the 4th lowest of this 49ers undrafted free agent class. So, like, the 49ers aren't really putting a lot of stock into what he's bringing to the table currently. They can walk away from this relatively easily. And if he chose to come to the 49ers and only took $40K, how many other teams, right, have Mason Pline on their radar? Doesn't seem like a lot. So he's going to have to put up some good tape in training camp. Those joint practices with the Saints are going to be paramount. And then can he put something on tape during preseason? That's what he's got to accomplish. But I'm telling you right now, he's ground up. This dude's going to be the last getting reps of all the tight ends come day one. I guarantee that. Now, you look at, he was at tight end university with George Kittle this week. That's huge. Any little thing that he can do, that's gigantic. Now, the 49ers keep 2 to 4 tight ends on their roster, their initial 53. Mason Pline's not going to be one of them. Locks, I think George Kittle and Eric Saubert, those two are locks. Now, you just go sign Logan Thomas. He's as close to 2 as you can get. So that's then you got Braden Willis, who was getting snaps in the Senior Bowl. Cam Latu, they spent a 3rd-round pick on, still hasn't practiced. Jake Tonjes, he's got more experience, local kid, all that stuff. So Mason Pline's got to pass a lot of guys just for an opportunity at a practice squad. So he's going to have some things break his way. If I had to guess, most likely scenario, he might not even be on our practice squad. He might have to come back next year on the 90-man just to go through training camp and all that stuff again and spend the entire season fighting to get to where he needs to be so that he can participate and compete next year. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope Mason Pline goes out there and earns a roster spot. I'm not rooting against anybody, but to say he's got an uphill climb, that is an understatement. But you see the traits. 6'6", 255, natural pass-catching hands, big-bodied wide receiving tight end. There's a place in the NFL for that. I hope Mason Pline goes out there and gets it and can put some good tape. You show in the preseason you can score in the red zone, NFL team's going to give you a chance. And if he gets that opportunity and seizes it, all right then. Now we can talk some Mason Pline for 2024. But as of now, I think it's just a little bit too much. He's just so far behind the 8 ball. And there's young, Braden Willis, drafted last year. Cameron Latu, drafted last year. Like he's got to overcome not one but two young pups that the 49ers have already invested a lot in, draft capital-wise and time-wise. Can he pass those guys? But I like this wild card signing, and if it pans out, great. And if it doesn't, you're out $40K. Like, not a big deal. Not even going to affect the salary cap and all that stuff. So, Mason Pline, surprise us, big dog. I want to see some great stuff. I know it's going to be fun to see him out there. But for us, we'll just keep counting him down.